when we were singing I love you, and you thought it felt like, because we were singing it, felt like we were giving love, but did you feel how much we were receiving it at the same time? That filling up, it's just, I remember some of the greatest wisdom I heard when I was early on in the path, because I was young and I was a mother and my life was busy, and I remember that someone very lovingly looked at me, and as I said, it's hard to have devotion when you're so busy, and he said, wanting to love is loving. So we come back to that intention is everything. So when even if you don't feel it and you think, we're so funny, we do this head trip. Well, I'm not going to say I love you to the divine because I'm not feeling it. It would be insincere. Do it anyway, because you know what? If you say, I love you, I love you, I love you, guess what gets starting to move in your heart? And there's this other part that I really love. Tom does in the immersion, those of you who know it. He teaches everyone to love the moment no matter what it is, right? And he sings a song. Right here,
right now, I am loving this. Right here, right now, I am loving this. Everybody, right here, right now, I am loving this. Right here, right now, I am loving this.
Try that. Use that as your mantra. So whether you're stuck in traffic, or your child is your 2-year-old's having a tantrum,
or your spouse is making you wrong again, right here, right now, I am loving this.
I don't always recommend you sing it out loud. Discrimination is necessary always, but you can sing it inwardly and then smile, and then remember the mantra. If you're being made wrong again, remember the mantra is, maybe you're right. What a concept. But we talked about it a couple weeks ago. We won't go back there.
Yeah, your soul is like so transcendent of all this stuff. So it's not like denial to be happy when things are like wanting you to be really not happy and really mad and stuff and want to retaliate. Quick. St. Francis walking along with Brother Leo, and they were in the snow. They didn't have a place to stay. They were freezing to death. And Brother Leo kept saying to him, well, what is perfect joy? And was guessing at what would be perfect joy. And Francis saying, no. And then they came to a monastery, and they're freezing. And Francis said to Leo, now, I'll tell you what perfect joy is, because he could intuit what was going to happen. It wasn't their monastery, it was some other monastery. He says, when we knock on the door, and they look at us, and they think we're beggars, and they lock and they slam the door on us, and we can walk away and be smiling and full of joy, that's perfect joy. The soul. The soul is okay with that.
Yeah, and that's mastery. So I want to share something with you. My point may be pretty brief this morning, because I want to share something that came in a dream on Friday night. And it came so strongly that I used my yoga class yesterday morning, Saturday morning, doing it. And then, of course, it was about flexibility. It was as if I was being taught in the inner planes in my dream time, and it really was teach flexibility. In other words, we were talking about it earlier today, the winds of change are coming. Welcome them, because we don't want things to stay the way they are, do we? Everything, almost every institution or everything that we can look outwardly needs to be cleaned up. Institution, even the institution of family, right? And the way we take care of our children and our animals and our bodies, and on and on and on. So they really woke up with the message, get it out there, flexibility. Be flexible, because we think we're going somewhere and we think we know how to get there. And we don't. We don't. And there's the magic of, I love when this happens, as if to confirm the message I was getting. 2 different messages ran across my desk. One was from the Tao. The Tao. Listen to this. I don't know if it's going to hit you as square as it hit me, but we have a little decision to make here. This is what it says. Men and women men, humans, there we go, are born soft and supple. And we have a 5-week-old little baby grandchild. He is soft and supple. So we have, this was so graphic in my face, right? Humans are born soft and supple, dead. They are stiff and hard. Now here's the punchline. Thus, whoever is stiff and inflexible is a disciple of death. Whoever is soft and yielding is a disciple of life. No matter how, right? And that's why we do yoga, is because it helps keep us flexible. You don't have to show up and be flexible. It will help you get that flexibility, but not just physically. And so think about it. Think about the things that are most challenging to you right now. Are you a disciple of death or a disciple of life? And the way that you can tell that is, are you being flexible, or do you have the line drawn in the sand that says, don't cross that line, I don't want to hear it? Have you practiced listening lately? Really listening. And you know what listening is? Listening is hearing. I just think it's so interesting, right? We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Doesn't that indicate that maybe we should be listening a little bit more from all directions, right? The mouth just goes one way, but the ears take in the energy from all around us. Let's listen to each other. Let's see each other. Let's hold space for each other, because what I realized, the other thing that I was being taught on Friday night, and it's nothing new. It wasn't new for me. I know it's not going to be new for you. Yeah, we, each one of us that are consciously seeking and holding the light, are going to be asked to be in places that seem to be devoid of light. And the norm would be to ask ourselves, why am I a part of this? Or why did I have to go through that? I've been doing the work. Right, that's why you're there. You've been downraying the light. You've been practicing light. And you're needed to hold the light in that situation. You're the candle. You're, even if it's a little flicker, you're the pilot light that stays burning, so that everybody else who forgets who they are can relight their match, their candle from you. So be aware that many of us are going to be put in situations that at first will say why, and you'll remember this, because this is going to remind you why you're needed. And you were sent to that place by no less than spirit. They need you there. We're not only disciples of life, we're the disciples of the new life, the new energy, and we're warriors for spirit. You know, we've got some military or post-military here with us. They know they're not sent. They don't get to stay in Southern California or wherever they're stationed. Once they're trained, they get sent right into the middle of the conflict. And all true warriors' mission is to bring peace, bring light. And so there's the second wisdom aspect that came into my consciousness yesterday morning as I was really meditating on flexibility, my own, and the concept of it was, this is really awesome too. So warriors, right? Martial artists. I forget who was it. I think it was Confucius said, the greatest warrior, the greatest fighter is the one that never gets angry. You fight, but you don't do it out of anger. So Bruce Lee, right, the most famous of our time, martial artist, he had something beautiful to say. He used a beautiful analogy about flexibility. He said, be like water making its way through cracks. Do not be assertive. Now remember, this is a warrior. This is a man who would do that dance of martial arts with another person, sometimes called a fight, but it wasn't as a dance. He said, no, do not be assertive, but adjust to the object. Adjust to what you're going through. You don't have to assert yourself. Adjust to it, and you shall find a way around or through it. If nothing within you stays rigid, outward things will disclose themselves. That's how he became so great. He waited for someone else to disclose their weakness, right? Or the way that he could move in and around it. And then he sounds like a yogi here. He said, empty your mind, be formless, shapeless, like water, like the soul. Get into soul consciousness. He said, if you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. If you put water into a bottle, it becomes a bottle. If you put it in a teapot, it becomes a teapot. Right? If we're put in a situation that is challenging, just be fluid. Don't fight it. Bring the light in. Take a breath. Realize Spirit has put you there. Stand up. Don't be a coward and retreat. Stand up. Just breathe. Bring light through your eyes and smile in your heart, even if it's not appropriate to smile outwardly. Smile in your heart because you're saying, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, to Spirit. I'm here. You put me here. I'm going to hold your energy. And so Bruce closes by saying, be water, my friend. Be water. Be fluid. Be flexible. And how many people, we've had a couple of tsunamis in the past couple of years, right? No one who has witnessed a tsunami or who's been on it, surfed a very high wave would say that water is not strength or strong or cleansing or powerful. So we are walking, those of you who are watching us at home, who knows that you could be watching this around Thanksgiving. But those here, we're entering into July. First thing we do here in the States is we celebrate the Independence Day, and I would encourage you as we go into July tomorrow to stay fluid and flexible. This country, we'll talk more about it next century, but next Sunday, but next century. Change of century tomorrow. I just declared it. I got the power. So let's keep fluidity and flexible in our minds, because this country was founded on very high principles, very, very definite purpose for this country, and it's gotten a little sidetracked, and that sidetracking has to be corrected. Don't look at what's happening. Stay fluid and visualize how we are recreating. From the ashes, we will recreate the most beautiful phoenix that will take flight. And who knows, maybe we'll go from the bald eagle to the phoenix after this cleansing as our national emblem. But hold on, hang tight, and be loose and flexible. It's coming, the cleanse is coming, and it's good. We were trained for this, fearless. So our mantra is, I love you.
It was fourth grade. I'm going back to when she opened it and said, remember that first love? It was fourth grade for me. And
I guess
it
you
was
remember.
at St. Charles Borromeo in North Hollywood, because I was a Catholic boy. And I was the smallest kid in my class. And I had a big old crush for the shortest girl in the class,
Aww.
Dawn. Dawn Sessa. What else do you want to know about her? Dawn Sessa. Anyway, we, in this Catholic tradition, there were a lot of like lines, and you would line up from the shortest to, so we're always the first. Her and me. Anyway, it was Valentine's Day, and I got some of those little heart candies, went through the box to find the one that was the most special, I love you, right? And here I am just feeling what I was feeling back then. So that first crush, that first thing is really a beautiful sign of that the soul is in here. And it really truly loves, it really truly loves. And it just awakens some of that soul love. So I got to give her the candy, and she gave me something back. And I thought that was it. That's going to be the one. The rest of my forever. Well, make a long story short, some years later, I was in the ashram, so there was no more Dawn Sessa. I went in as a monk, right? I was going for the big love. Anyway, my mom never quite understood why I would not have a family, and so she's like a matchmaker. Even though I was a monk and I dedicated my life to the monk, she located this Dawn Sessa. I must have said something back in the day to my mom about that. And my mom invited me out. I didn't get to go out much, but she did say, we're going to go to dinner, and there's an old friend that I want you to meet. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine? Yes, she had plotted that we went to this dinner, and there was Dawn. I didn't recognize her, and she had 2 kids. 2 kids, and there was Dawn. And really, it was a setup and to see if, that first love thing was still there. It wasn't. Okay, then fast forward years into the ashram when I saw this lady after I gave a sermon in 1980-something at Pasadena Temple. She was pregnant with her first daughter, Shauna.
82.
So that was 1982. And at the end of the services in SRAF, generally, there's just a lot of soul respect, and people come by and they pronam and pronam and pronam and pronam. So at the very end, she waddled up to me. And I got my first glimpse into those eyes, right? And you think it's easy as a monk? I'm just not saying that that stuff was gone from me. In fact, it's even more up for me because that stuff is coming up and you're transmuting it to a higher love, right? I instantly recognized her. But the interesting thing was that everyone was so nice to me, but she said, I didn't agree with what you said.
Imagine.
She is such a
That was the first thing I ever said
honest
to him. Excuse me, but you were wrong about that.
right here, right now, I am loving this.
We maybe should explain what the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I recognized her as a friend from the past. And from that moment on, or I did when I was drawn out to do a similar life that I've done in so many lifetimes, is to have a family. One reason why I went in the ashram is I said, I know that I could do a family life. I know I could be a successful business person or whatever. But I don't know is that, can I overcome some of the things that I really think I need to overcome in this life so I'm not the same old stiffy guy? Mindset, habits, reactions, the same. Might as well be dead, right? Yeah. At least for me. So one of those things was to say to the divine, when I needed to just say, okay, one life is nothing. It's a few years. Look at how fast this year's gone by. How are you doing with your New Year's resolutions, kids? Right? It's past halfway. It going by like that. Was to just tell Divine Mother, look, this life's for you. The mother, this is one life for you. I can do it. And after so many years in the ashram, I convinced myself, and I'd already been 20-something year, 25, before I did decide through her grace to leave. That's another story. But I tell her, this life is for you. Next time, maybe me and this soul can get together. See, if that's a good motto for you moms and overwhelmed people. Like when something is overwhelming you right in the moment today, let's say, you can say, no, 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 no. I'm just going to breathe. I'm going to hold this light, and I'm just going to say, tomorrow I'll deal with it. And you just put it off till tomorrow. Mañana, right? Mañana, you got this moment, you got this day, and you, quite frankly, and me are on a divine mission. Oh my, OMG, Spirit needs you and me. If you have anything dabbling in the light a little bit, going back and forth in two boats, OMG, Spirit still needs you. Because there's a lot of people that won't even consider what each of you are considering in terms of your next breakthrough into that flexibility, into that suppleness, where really you're a little soul child in the arms of Divine Mother, and she is doing the doing through you because you trust her, you trust life, so you can't even take any credit for being so strong because you've attuned to the force of love, which is the second chakra, which is the water. That's where Divine Mother lives, and quite frankly, it's also where the womb is, and it's where the creative energy is. So very special place to submerge yourself in that water element of Divine Mother's love, and quite frankly, just submerge yourself there. But it's very interesting because with these babies now as a monk that left in year 2000, relatively, it was November 99. But it was 2000, and now it's 2013. I have 3 grandkids. How do you like that? Huh? Figure that one out, huh? But with these little babies around. I didn't grow up in the ashram learning about little babies. I really didn't. Just the soul babies, which we all are. But I look at them and I think, they're still breathing the way God intended you and me right now to breathe. They have the diaphragm breath going. In fact, little Kyson sits on his mother's belly or her chest, and they sleep a lot too. And that's an amazing thing, because that left brain is shut off. Thank God, when you and me were younger, we weren't holding the problems and the worries and not feeling so good about ourselves that we're feeling right now, because you let the switch back on in this left brain, linear thinking, rationalizing, identifying with the outer mind. But they have it shut off for it's still, 6 weeks, 7 weeks?
He's 5 weeks.
The dude is still sleeping.
Well, he was a month early.
It's so brilliant to know that you could just flip a switch here and surrender into that ocean of divine love and know that you don't have to think through the today. You don't have to rationalize through today. In fact, that will be what Trish said. It gets us in a lot of trouble. That is probably not the direction that your soul wants you to take. Because the direction your soul wants to take is this beautiful opportunity. I like to say, in service to the light. In service to the light. Because the light is so beautiful. The divine light that makes everything, you and me and creation, it's just one. And it's so awe-inspiring, blissful, that you just never, ever want to take your eyes off of it. All those NDEs, those near-death experiences that people first talk about, even though they were still kind of earthbound, but then when they noticed the light, it was like, oh, wow, I can let that go now, because all I want is to be a part of this light. And we see one little speck of earth life, don't we? It can be really tiny too. It can just be about me and a few others, or we can maybe get a little more nation-oriented and we can see what's going on in the news. And we might get global, but we're still thinking of the outward. But that has nothing to do with what's really happening in service of the Supreme Spirit right now. There is a cosmic hierarchy. There's a cosmic divine plan, and this is what I love about the simplicity of the cosmic divine plan, which seems like, what? I know I got stuff I want to do, finish up some things, maybe find that Mrs. Right or Mr. Right in someone, and if you're still young and you're still worried that you're not going to have a baby and all this stuff, you got your thing that you want to do. But you might want to say, tomorrow, next life. But I have come here to be the light and in service of the light. And if you ever need energy, you take the highest ideal, the highest cause that has nothing to do with what you want. And that's what Trish was saying. Get ready to be put in a situation for exactly what you don't want. I can tell you all about it. I was there for 25 years. I didn't enter that life because that was the cushy thing that, I was just naturally spiritual, naturally willing to follow orders, naturally, follower of the rules, so to speak. No, because that life was the most difficult for me. So the light is going to put you in positions today and every moment to the rest of this incarnation and any others to follow to say, do you want to serve this divine, amazing plan, or do you want to follow once again in another life, and there's a good chance if you do, your own self-will, which is going to kind of stiffen up this body and stiffen up your mind, because when you flip on this left side of your brain and operate from there and miss out on the right side, which is the intuitive brain, and living in the heart, you will just keep spinning and never be quite satisfied. So, what is the divine plan? It's that you and me, right now, in this breath, in this moment, feel a little better about ourselves. In this moment, in this breath, that we can take in life with a little more trust and a little less fear. It's saying that in this moment, in this breath, that you are willing to be supple and flexible and not blame the situation or the karma that you created, put yourself in a situation that you're in today, but you can now inhale and take another deep diaphragm breath and be in this present moment and say, wow, I'm going to hold that candle today for myself first, you know? I'm going to say I love me, 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 I do, because what? My me is spirit. My me is the beloved. But these babies, they breathe the diaphragm breath, the belly breath. Not only do they have the umbilical cord, that's the lifeline to the human mother, but it's also the lifeline to the divine while they're in water. That's their little scuba outfit when they're in there. It's amazing how they're breathing from the belly. Then when they're out, and they're still helpless, and thank God that left side of the brain, because it comes soon enough. Now I see it in our almost 5-year-old. I saw the progression of tendencies that were still so pure from the other side when she was little, and the possibilities and she still has them. But now I see creeping in, because the left side of that switch is opening more and more as the world bombards her more and more, and I see now other tendencies coming up. Other tendencies of the stuff that you and I are here to bring more light into. We're here to transmute, especially in those uncomfortable situations, especially in those things that, well, I can grab for the gusto right now, or I can say to Divine Mother, no, tomorrow, I'm going to put that off, because I know that doesn't serve me, or does it serve me in service to the light? Because the light is asking each of us to be so present with the breath. And that's why I want to go back to this diaphragm breath, the belly breath, the yogic breath, the 3-part breath. Even heart math, that they're doing all these amazing scientific studies, as many of you have heard of them, around the heart. And it's science, it's documented science. And these scientists are saying that the heart is the central intelligence of the body. There's 65% neural cells in the heart, exactly like your neural cells in the brain. And half of those are directly connected incommunicado with the brain mechanism, and half are dealing with this moment right now. How you can operate is they're soldiers. They're soldiers of the heart that are helping you not to go to that thinking mind every time something happens. Or you planning your life, what you want to do in this incarnation. And it's fighting really to help you take a pause. And that's what the diet, so then they say, get a positive thought, a positive feeling, place it in the center of your heart and breathe diaphragmatically while you hold the consciousness of that positive feeling in your heart. And they say automatically that EKG or how the heart waves, right? They will become entrained. They will become harmonized. Whereas if you and I are breathing shallowly, which is our custom because we've got in the habit of being on the left side of the brain, which doesn't allow us to take in a big breath of trust, we will find that there's incogent or incoherent, jagged, the roller coaster ride that you and I, happy one day and not so happy the next. So I really do think it's going back to being that little babe. resting on Divine Mother, breathing the diaphragm breath. And if some of you think, well, what's the diaphragm breath? It's simply, you can Google it. You can hold a baby, watch them breathe. You're an expert at it because it's the breath, first nature in the womb, and first nature as a child. But you start below the belly at the abs and you push it out. You push it out, and like a balloon, you expand your belly. Now, I'll tell you one reason why a lot of us have forgotten to do the diaphragm breath. And I'm not just talking like, well, every now and then when I'm feeling stressed out. It's a way of being, believe it or not. It's the new way of the new age to breathe again. From the diaphragm. And I'll give you some science after that. But you push your belly out, and I know it's not attractive. All of a sudden, like I got this big pouch here, right? Look at how we are in our society. Suck it in. Suck it in, put your chest out. I can hardly breathe. But those babies are smart. And the way the Creator designed how to be in the womb, in the water, flexible and strong, like the tsunami, is to breathe diaphragmatically, and especially when you're feeling the stress of being too much on the left side of your brain, too much in your head. And we all are still there. We're still a very, very, in some ways, insane society that way, because the blind leading the blind. Anyway, you push your belly out, and then bring that up to the diaphragm. Your chest can actually move all the way to the throat, and then you go in reverse order. Throat, chest, diaphragm, and then the belly starts to come in. The diaphragm actually expands, and you can draw your abs in. So you almost do like a little mula bun lock right there, where the abs come in and touch the low spine. And then you start the abs and push out, big balloon. And take your time to your chest, to your diaphragm, to your throat. And then from throat, chest. You know what? You're going to breathe less. What does that mean? You'll be taking less breaths per minute, breathing diaphragmatically when you train yourself. The yoga schools and trainings, which we have here, teach you that in the basic training, but it's still not easily practiced because the whole class we need to be doing that. I mean, in rounded poses where everything is rounded and squeezed, yes, you still push that belly out. We're lazy in the belly. This society has gotten really lazy in the stomach. And stomach is your guts. That's where we have to have a lot of guts these days. And that means to retrain yourself, to push that belly out. Diaphragm, chest. And here's the tip. Hold a positive feeling in your heart while you're breathing that way. In and out. You'll breathe 3, 4, 5 times a minute versus your 7, 8, or 9. So right away, more longevity to your life, because the tortoise, 2 times a minute? They live 200 years. You'll have more longevity. What also happens, your brain is like super oxygenated. And what happens also is that you cannot be thinking like you do when you're not aware of the diaphragm breath. Check it out. Next time you guys are in your usual MO, check your breath. Just check. Monitor your breath. You will be aghast at how shallow it is, and how throat it is, and how chest it is. You're not getting enough oxygen to the brain. Whereas that diaphragm breath will automatically entrain you to the deeper aspects of this super intelligence in your heart. It's called love. It really, try it out, and do it when you're vacuuming the house. Do it when you go for your walks. Make that an effort to retrain yourselves. And just, you come to me and I'll hear you telling me about all the benefits, and you've just barely began again to do the diaphragm breath. You'll be absolutely flabbergasted to know how you've gone out of your mind and into a higher consciousness just through diaphragm breathing. And the final thing is, in that little babe or innocent state, that first nature state, there's the first love. And our first love really, really, really is to Spirit, the one creator of all. Isn't it? Yes. Isn't that our first crush? And I'll just end by just saying how it is on this divine plan side. The divine plan is this: Spirit loves you. You know, Walt Whitman said that this whole universe was created and directly aimed at one thing: you and you and you, because the divine plan is spirit is crazy for you. Out of its incredibleness, just for you, madly, madly, madly in love with the soul that it created in you as one with it. And the divine plan is text message every time you open up your phone. Come home. I want you. I can't live another moment. He, Creator, Spirit, gave each of you free will. You can either choose to give your love to your first love, your first loyalty to the one who created all that is, which is, quite frankly, the highest law and the highest commandment to do that, or not. So even spirit doesn't have something if we don't choose to give it. So I love when I visualize Moses coming down from the mountain and he's got the tablets, you know, and he just had this awe-inspiring moment with God. And he got the instructions. It's like there is a manual that we can follow. There is a life manual. There is a soul manual to follow. But really, the 9 other commandments don't really matter as much as the first one. There's just one. And it just, you know, like St. Francis was crying inconsolably one day, and they asked, well, why? And they never seen him cry because he said, love is not being loved. And the very first thing that Spirit wants, and the first and only thing, is that first request. And here's what Spirit is saying to you in a way more human than you could ever imagine, in a way that touches you because he knows you, exactly you. And he's saying, hey, would you just love me? I need your love. Would you? Would you give me a little love? I need your love. Imagine. The one who's the most powerful, just asking you and me. That's the text message. Will you love me? And then if you do say yes, and I highly recommend that you just say yes and figure it out, what it all means, and start to open up like you all have done today. Here's the second thing, and this is like a whisper, just like, oh, and by the way, would you also love me in every heart, because that's where I am too. I love you, 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 I love you.
I do.
I do.
It's funny how I love you leads to I do.
Sure does.